So you can imagine how hard it would be to try and get public transport, to hail a bus, to get a train, to change platforms, and to get on the correct train and get across the city. Like an hour and 40 trips. It's like a lot for fully sighted people, let alone when you can't see what you're doing. But having the privilege of being in my daughter's space and just being with her and being open to be impacted by her and her spirit, it's been a transformative thing. And I'm just going to show you something here like this. To try and get the bus driver to drop her off at the right place, just for the people watching on YouTube, my wife's had to make up a card, because we just were having continual problems letting the like, what do you say to the bus driver to let you off at the stop? It's not a real distinctive stop. And how do you even hold this sign up to a bus driver the right way? This is on like a retractable tag for it. And so Aunt Cherry's just put a tactile arrow on the back. It's like a puffy paint to help her out. It's like you solve one problem, another thing props up. But it's an amazing thing to see her go into the world with such positivity and joy. And she's a joyful person, Mike, that, having spent time with her. And what you're saying there about what are you feeding your spirit? Like who are you surrounding yourself with?
Mm-hmm.
What are the people around you like? What sort of frequency are these people operating on? What are they putting out into the world? What are you allowing yourself to be impacted by? I remember Rico back in episode 4 talking about how carefully he guards his inner circle now, how hard it is to get in and how fast it is to lose your ticket. And it's a really important thing for people to think about. That spiritual part is going to impact, and everything else is going to flow from that. It's like, who are you surrounding yourself with, and what are you feeding your spirit? I think is an excellent question, Mike.
Yeah. And, Matt, first, I just want to commend Annie for what she's doing, man. Like you said, that would be tough for anybody, that much transit and going through and dealing with just public transportation in general and the people you would encounter, and, one thing not working out and it throws your whole day off. Just to stay, positive or stay balanced through that whole thing, let alone doing it and your vision impaired. Annie's a rock star. And her whole life has been nothing but what are you feeding her spirit? Hey, and sometimes it's 80s rock and roll, which is fine. Which is totally fine. And she has a great attitude about it, and it makes her happy, so yeah, it's true though, man. There's nothing better than I'm speaking for myself. There's nothing better than truly knowing yourself or knowing the people that are around you.
Yes.
In all situations. And what I mean by that is, how many people in your life can you look at and that on a really good day, they are themselves. And on a really bad day, they are themselves. That it's not this roller coaster of one day of, oh, my life is awesome and this is how it always should be, and then something happens and then the next day it's, oh my God, I'm so thrown out and this is such crap and I hate my life, and you're not appreciative or anything. You just are on this everlasting roller coaster of emotions and what's going on. But it really comes back to like, where is your focus and what are you focused on? Where are you putting your time, your thoughts, your energy? What are you feeding the soul? The mental intake. What are you watching on TV? What music do you listen to? What conversations are you having? What environment are you in? What environment are you creating? You can go down the list on this and really think about mental intake. And start there, really start there, and then take inventory. We're always talking about taking inventory on every aspect of your life and having awareness. Well, do it again, like, hey, if you haven't done it in a while, do it again. Me and Melon haven't talked consistently in over a month, and we're sitting here talking about, what we've been going through and different things, and we're putting each other in check, like reaffirming that, like, yes, this is what happened, and this is how it happened.
Yeah.
This is why we were able to get through this, is because we were focused on the right things. We were feeding ourselves as a family the right things, and we knew it was possible. You know.
Yeah. And, after, so, and he's had these 6 weeks of going to school, and I had 4. I had the blessing to have 4 of them with her, and I knew that was going to end, and I was then going to be returning to work, get out there and get after that mission, that professional element of life that's so important to us, and get those resources coming in, which is essential. And I've just, what you've just been saying there, like who you surrounding yourself with, who are you having conversations with, what's the caliber of these people, what sort of frequency they're operating on. I've just had, it's been such an extraordinary 2 weeks professionally, Mike, to come back to work with the Australian Air Force, to be training Australian military pilots again. That's the role that I'm moving into, and to be taken into the training team and be recognised and respected and welcomed by this group of absolute professionals. There's a few key people that still remember me from back in the day when I was teaching in Perth in Western Australia before I moved to Saudi, and there's loads of them that don't know me, but there's this immediate recognition, you're one of us. That's the feeling I've had this whole 2 weeks, and it's just been an amazing thing. And to see these group of young professionals who are undertaking to train the student pilots, they have just absolutely impressed me down to the ground, man. I cannot tell you how much, any question marks I've had about millennials or whatever generation the young ones are now. I think they're even younger than millennials. It's showing how old I am. I think this is Gen Z. These young professionals, going out into the world pursuing their dreams, have just absolutely left me so impressed, man. And the next generation coming through, to be involved in training them, it's just such a privilege. And I've just had the best 2 weeks. I was talking to my younger brother about it, and he's obviously, I've mentioned him several times, infantry reserve officer. And he said to me, I was just talking about it, and he's like, you've come back to your people. And that is like no shit the feeling I've had of having gone away and lived our life and done our thing for our kids overseas, and come back and be welcomed back into a team of people that I just massively respect, and to be taken on and brought into the fold and spoken to like I'm a member of the team, like I've never left. It has been just one of the best professional experiences I've ever had. And I can't quite believe I'm having the experience, man. Yeah. It has just been an extraordinary coming home, family, Annie in school, and then this professional part. And as you say, you get to a certain stage in your career, it's no longer about me and I thing, like to be involved in training these people is just a privilege, and it's just an amazing thing to have this part of my life happening. And I'm just full of gratitude, and I can't endorse highly enough what you've been talking about as the topic of, what are you feeding your spirit, and what are the conversations you're involved in, and who is around you can just profoundly shift your state.
Yeah. And that's the key though, man, too, is like, your spirit is your spirit, and what you feed it is where it's going to lead you ultimately. But we have to remember, like, if we just have a spirit but nothing else, it doesn't matter. Like, we're meant to be around other people. We're meant to have relationships. We're meant to have, a circle. We're meant to grow and bounce things off one another, and be a community. Like, ultimately, we're not meant to do things on our own. We're not meant to live an extraordinary life. You could have all the money in the world. You could have your G6 airplane, your $1 billion yacht, and your vacations. You're going to be sitting there alone, even if you pay 30 women to be laying around lounging in bikinis with you. You're still going to be alone. All right. And you know it, because you know why, the real reason they're there. But when you're genuinely around people that you build with, you have tough conversations with, and you're feeding the spirits, together on things, like you're
Yeah.
talking about with these students. It inspires you, man. It's like sharing energy, like Melon and I have done it. Me, Melon, and Raph have done it where, we'll start out pretty mediocre, on some days. It's early in the morning, it's late at night, we're all having our coffee, and then we just feed off of each other, of like that positive energy that's going. Then, yeah, man, yeah, yeah. And you start realizing stuff. You're probably not going to get that on your own. Some people can do it. It's more rare than not. And I don't believe it's sustainable. That you need other people in life. You need to lean on them, feed off each
Mm.
other's energy, mentor you, or you're mentoring them. It's a give take thing. But
Yeah.
that's key, man. Is finding a good environment, finding people, reignite your passion with it. Because
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you too, Melon. I've been doing this, 17 and a half years now. I'm grateful for it. I loved it. Everything. My fulfillment and energy and positive intake is watching other people succeed now. Like, I really don't care about a title. I really don't care about rank. I really don't care about an award. I really don't care about recognition. My success is sitting back and watching, well, not sitting back, very active, but watching the light bulb come on, watching success, watching the other people get up there and receive the award, receive the promotion, receive the whatever, and they're smiling, they're with their family, they're celebrating, the energy is great, and it's like, dude, all of this is building in good, that I'm not wasting my time with people who want to play games, who want to point the finger at everybody else and say life sucks because of literally everything but them. And it's just bad mental intake. It's like, look, man, you can be like that if you want, but I'm going to make the choice to not put you on the menu. Okay. Like, I'm not consuming you today. I have no desire to do that. My body, my mind, my spirit all deserve better. And I love myself, and I respect it, but it's not just about me. It's like I also want to be good for the people around me as well, because it's not
Yeah.
about you.
There's that quote, Mike, about the man who is planting, in old age, is planting trees, knowing that he'll be long gone before they grow, and that shade is gonna be for other people. That person has begun to understand the meaning of life.
Yes.
That there's something different. Like I'm having a different experience when I'm really having this focus on the kids, having my children um, moving forward and blossoming in ways that I couldn't have seen last year. Like Annie going across the city on public transport hasn't happened yet, but to have that even as a possibility is just so far away from the little girl having her happy and safe life in her house in where we lived in Saudi. It's just such a world away. I could not even have conceived of it until 6 weeks ago when we did it the first time. And the reality of being back here and having the opportunity to participate and mentor and develop these young military pilots here, it's just such a blessing, and it's such a different feeling to feel and a different experience to have. There's really something about getting the focus off yourself and onto other people that allows you to then, you can sort of relax. It's not all about you anymore. You can sort of breathe out, and then you can get into your flow state.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that, like, that spiritual, mental, emotional, physical model we talk about, like those four pillars of life. The emotional one, like Thierry and I have just been on this new level for the last couple of weeks, and it has been because of these other areas being in alignment, and it's a wonderful thing to experience, man.
Well, whether you correlate the two or not, Melon's talking about one, taking his daughter through the city, doing everything for her to live the life that she needs to live. And then he's also on a whole nother capacity training future pilots and doing what they're doing. Whether you realize it or not, is like Melon's a leader in both aspects. Melon is training people to not
Just
be.
to be clear, I'm not actually on staff yet. I've got to do my own course, but I just started. I've just joined the team. But clearly, this is what I do. I've done it for.
All right, so
18
Melon's going
months.
through the point because everyone knew he was coming well before he showed up, and they're like, this see you next Tuesday showing up. Like, so Melon's going through the new guy initiation is basically what he's saying. They're giving him the I don't know, riding his shingles. I don't know what you want to call it, but so he's going through indoctrination right now is basically what he's doing. But
there's like, the big experience that we've been having, Mike and I talking, has been like opening new chapters and closing old ones, and looking forward to new things beginning, while celebrating and savoring the ending of other parts. And in these transition times, which is really what both of us have been going through, this physical rehab. Don't even get me started. My knees and hips are all shot out at the moment. I'm having all sorts of issues there, but I'm just doing the training and know that something will happen down the track, that's going to progress. But in this part of navigating the ending, beginning, the new chapter sort of element, having these moments and being able to sit and reflect is big, to be able to accept where you are, really where you are, and not be like, I wish I was someone other than this, to be really honest.
yeah,
To be able to embrace the change that's in front of you, and to go into that with like a happy and open heart. And a really important part in the transition is resetting goals and having intentions and getting your purpose clear again in this time of change, because you can derail yourself. You've just achieved something, you've completed a chapter, you've put the full stop, and you turn the page, and it can be like, this can be a bit of a dangerous time for people achieving goals. And so it's really important to put that back out in front of you. So I just want to say that again, it's have that moment of reflection, accept clearly where you are, embrace the change with that open heart, and reset your goal. Like, as you're going through this transition stage, get clear again, find out again, what's the next important thing for you? What is your next priority, your single priority? Don't have like 10 priorities. Priority was a word originally, it was only ever used as a singular. So what is the most important thing for you now as you're moving forward, so that you can have that chapter close, take the lessons out of it, and then not get stuck or derail yourself.
yeah.
Mike, you were just about to jump in.
It just takes me straight to a conversation I had last weekend. So here in the States, it was Memorial Day weekend, and it was just, one of the hardest but also most beautiful moments, holidays that we celebrate. And Melon shares the same, and we talk about that stuff, and sharing pictures with one another of fallen teammates or brethren, or honoring our nation, both of our nation's heroes and stuff like that. Man, it's just very emotional. Well, last Saturday at church, we had a men's night, which was pretty cool, and everybody's like, that sounds stupid. Let me tell you, it's actually really freaking cool, man. We had axe throwing, we had muskets, we had fishing, we had disc golf, we had arm wrestling competition. Like, it was a couple hours. Oh, and we brought a ton of meat, and we had steak, chicken, shrimp, and all kind of things that were really, really good. So it was actually pretty cool with some good dudes. But anyway, when I was working the axe throwing station, there was a kid that came up. He's a kid, young man. He was about 24, and he was on a walker. He had like an old man like walker, and he could barely like walk fast. And he gets up there and wanted to throw some axes. And I was very curious. We had a guest speaker come, who was a Marine, and now he's a pastor, and he was talking about stuff from Memorial Day and just men in general. But he pointed at this young man, and he was talking about going through adversity, and it just kind of like keyed me in on him, like, oh man, I really want to talk to this guy. So I made it a point. I went up and talked to him, and I said, "Hey, man, I have to ask, what's your story?" And he was in the military. He still is, and he's about to get medically discharged because he can't do it. But he said, "I got hit by a drunk driver last July." and it basically destroyed his whole right side. He broke his right foot, his right ankle, his shin, his knee, his fibula, uh, shattered the right side of his hip. His right shoulder is messed up. And, he's walking around as if he was a 75-year-old man on a walker. He didn't have a lot of his right buttock, too. And I was just looking at him, and honestly, man, I could have said 10 different things, but whatever came over me, I just looked at him and said, wow, man, what an opportunity you have to share your story. And he just kind of looked at me, and he's just like, he's a little bit younger. And he just kind of looked at me. He's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, dude, you've been handed a great circumstance. You've been handed a great opportunity. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, right now, what do you wish would happen in your life? And he goes, oh, well, I wish I wasn't in that accident, and I wish I could just be running around and doing things that I love to do. And I said, yeah, that's fair. I think we would all say that, right? I said, but you were handed something pretty extraordinary. This happened to you and you survived. I said, what an opportunity you have to learn in this time, to get through this in a positive, healthy way, because unfortunately, drunk drivers aren't going to disappear. The world
Mm,
isn't all of a sudden going to get better. And there's going to be another young man or young woman that gets hit by a drunk driver and that has the worst moment of their life that you just had, that you have made it through so far. And you now have the opportunity to share your story and teach them how to get through it so that they can live a better, happy life. And I said, you have that opportunity now that some of us don't. And
oh,
dude,
man.
and
How
dude,
did he take it?
no, to me, his reaction is, what did you just say? Like his mind,
Yeah.
his mind was not even there in that space because he was so focused on, I'm a broken, unworthy person that is just going to be useless the rest of my life because I'm so broken up. And I feel like I can only say this, Melon, not because I was in an accident like that, but because I know what it feels like to be down and broken. In a lot of ways, not just physically, but all around, and it goes back to that thing of like the conversation I had with the guy at Arlington. He said, he's like, oh man, God must really love you. And I said, well, why do you say that? He goes, he's given you all the hard things early in your life so that
Mm,
you have the opportunity to learn them now so that the rest of your life will be that much more meaningful and beautiful and purposeful. And I wanted to share that with him. That wasn't just for me, but that was for him as well and for others.
yeah.
Again, it's not about you. It's not all about you. There's opportunity in everything. And just having that conversation for 30 minutes or so, man, um,
How
was
was he at the end of the conversation, man? Like like honestly, you have to be a pretty special person to be able to share that, to communicate with a young man in that kind of a situation, Mike. And he probably picked up a bit and understood a bit of your story and your experience, and would have had some sense of an idea of how many of your colleagues you've lost and that you've seen injured. So he knows that you're not just some guy at a bar, saying something to him, sort of shooting from the hip. But for you to pose that to him, like that there's an opportunity for him to share and to help other people. How did that land with him at the end of the conversation?
honestly, he was just kind of he was just kind of quiet. Like he was just kind of like looking around like, man, if I'd imagine it was kind of like I didn't even think of it that way,
Yeah.
in different stuff. But he was there at a men's church group with guys who are, on a pursuit to become better people, to better understand what they're doing and their purpose in their life, whether it's being a husband, a father, a friend, a mentor, a leader, like whatever it is, because those conversations are happening all the time there. That's the
Yeah.
environment. That's the intake that we have and provide for one another is positivity and education and instruction and insight and foresight, and all these things, dude. We're not hanging out in the park doing drugs. drinking our face
Yeah.
off and talking about how awesome we are, and then going home and, beating our wives or doing terrible
Yeah.
things or not being present. Like it's not a secret code that needs to be broken. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very upfront. And that just popped out to me, with that young man that I talked to. And
And there is such a huge opportunity there for someone to, to help. We're just talking there about finding mission or creating mission or setting your purpose again. To see a breakdown, and look, we can't do anything about the breakdowns that have happened. That's tough stuff comes down the pipe for us. And some of it people don't survive, and other stuff is just debilitating, like this young man's story. But what are you going to do with the cards when you've been dealt them? Like, what do you do next? And there are opportunities on the other side of these hard situations in life to find meaning and purpose, and a lot of that is going to be in being service to other people. Like, I can't lie to you, like when Annie was born so early, and the disabilities and the struggle she's gone through, it's absolutely heartbreaking to live through that as a father and to see the impacts. And yet, going through life with her has just been, it's been the most meaningful thing in my life by far, to see life with her. So there's opportunities, like you're saying there, and helping someone see that there's opportunities is a real blessing. It's a real act of service and love, and that's an amazing thing to share with someone.
name me a better feeling when someone that you truly love and care about is speaking to a crowd,
Mm.
and they take 10 seconds of their time, if that, and they point right at you and say, I couldn't have done it without you in my life. Like, think about that. Has that ever happened to you? And how did that make you feel? Is that better than you standing up on an award and everybody patting you on your back? Or is it somebody else being vulnerable and open enough to take the time to think outside of yourself and go, you know what? That person in the back of the room right there is one of the most beautiful people I've ever had in my life, because of everything that they've done to me, everything they've shared with me, the time they've given me. They're always there in good and bad times. Like, I want everybody to know that that is one of the best people in my life. And if they're speaking about you, dude, there's no better feeling knowing that, man, I'm doing something right in my life that's purposeful and bigger than me.
And there's even going to be little private victories as well, Mike. There's going to be the times when you just know that person is just having a massive win for them in a way that was never going to occur without some support or a boost. And it sometimes, like, I've seen Annie play music in public before, and I've just, she's just seeing her transported in those moments. Sometimes you don't even need those words. Sometimes you just get to witness something happening that otherwise wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, dude, I mean, you nailed it. It's just, we say all the time, there's good times coming, there's bad times coming, but,
Mm.
asking yourself, we always say, like, who do I want to be when they show up? It's training yourself, but it's also like, what are you feeding the machine to prepare for it? If you're a high performance race car and you know that there's a really tough race coming, you're going to give yourself the best octane fuel, the best high performance fuel to feed it. You're not going to put, unleaded 87 in there or whatever. I don't know what they got in Australia, but it's just here in the States, you're not going to give it the lowest amount and expect great things.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to nurture it and be like, man, I need to feed this machine the best thing. Or your diet and feeding yourself. If you just sit around and eat donuts and chips all day, you're gonna get fat. You're gonna be out of shape. You're not performing.
No joke.
Yeah, feed yourself, good meat, vegetables, fruits, like a balanced
Yeah.
diet or whatever that's going to help your body perform, and you're going to feel better, you're going to perform better, you're going to run faster, you're going to work out more, like the whole thing. Same thing with a spirit, man. Whatever you're feeding yourself is going to affect everything else.
Hey, on the topic of new navigating endings, new beginnings, and new chapters, and I think there's a beautiful opportunity there. I hope that there's a follow up at some point we hear about this young man. Maybe that there was a new chapter in front of him that came out of this conversation with you there, Mike, in the men's group. Before we came online, um, we were talking. You and I, Mike, were talking with my son, and we were talking about you know deploying and going and getting on with the job, and being in the moment and knowing that there's the rest of your life after that,
Hmm.
and looking forward and having plans for the future. And he had that question for you about not being distracted in the moment. How do you appreciate the moment, and is it about appreciating the moment, or is it about being effective in the moment?
Hmm.
That, like, being present and not being distracted. You were sort of letting him know that there was a key thing there, when that time's happening and when that challenge is happening, that you have to really be there. And he was asking you about those two questions, like, is it about appreciating the moment, or is it about being effective in the moment? And you had some interesting sort of insight for him that I thought maybe you could share.
Yeah, yeah. Michael is definitely a young man asking young man questions, man. I love it. And he's way I'm so glad about this part. He's way more handsome than you are. So you did something right. You did something right, dude. Mental intake, right?
I blame his mother.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about it just real quick. This is going to be my last time deploying in my whole career. My sixth and final time. Um, and like I said everything with a start date has an end date. Absolutely everything, including our life.
Yeah.
Um, and I accept that, dude. And honestly, it's a beautiful thing because it has just taught me gratefulness and appreciation for everything. Because I know I was like, dude, as much as I enjoy insert here, um, this isn't going to be forever, and I really need to like be present and really be grateful for this stuff. But he asked me, he goes, he's like, are you mad or are you upset that this is your last time, or are you looking more towards the future, like after you get back? And I said, honestly, man, I said it's both. I'm not just going to be so present that I don't think about the future and positive things about it because there is a lot of opportunity waiting for me. But I'm also not in a rush where I'm so focused on the future that I'm just going to be a mindless robot for the next few months and just not think about the present. I said that doesn't work. I was like, you have to have a balance of two. And like I said, a very wise man once told me, a good quote, just about, the lucky ones know when it's their last time doing something. And I know this is my last time. So what do I do with that? I have hopes and goals for the future for when I get back and what's going to happen in my life then, and well, where do I see myself? What am I building? But at the same time, man, I'm literally going to take day by day and just tell myself, like, feed my mental my mental machine there of just wake up and be like, man, realize where you're at, realize what you're doing. This is the last time. Make those relationships, have those conversations, get a little bit uncomfortable, take opportunities, whether it's like running a certain job or, hey, I'll volunteer to go do that so I can go and experience this in a place that I've never been before. Maybe I'll never be back here. Maybe I'll never talk to these people again. Maybe I'll never have this opportunity. You can go down the thing. But it's literally knowing that, like, dude, I need to be in the moment. I need to be grateful and appreciative and keep telling myself, hey, man, this is your last time. Not in a negative way, but
Mm.
man, squeeze the juice out of this thing. Enjoy it. Find every story, find every opportunity, find every emotion that you can experience with this experience. Because, I can share it in that future. you know, that's coming, that's building. And one of the things I hold on to all the time, Melon, and you know more than anybody, is I think more about the people that are in my life or that aren't even in my life yet, and what that is like a family, having a wife, having children. And I'm thinking, 20 years down the road of like, man, I really need to do and learn this now, because 20 years from now, my son or daughter could come up to me and go, Dad, I had the worst day of my life and I don't know what to do. And I'm so lost. And Dad, I need you. And I can comfortably look at him and go, one, I'm not leaving. Two, I'm not scared by this. Three, I took the time to learn really good pathways through what you're going through. And I just want to tell you, I love you. And we're going to get through this in a really good way. You know, I have that vision all the time. I feed that to myself all the time. So when bad things happen, I don't run away going, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this because I'm scared, because I'm unprepared. It's like, dude, this isn't for just me. I'm literally going through something that my future people are going to look to me and go, hey, I need you. And I want to be there for them. I want to show up for them. I want to be prepared, and that's my mental intake every day, every single day.
Well, man, I feel like that. I don't think we could. I don't think we could end on a better spot than that, Mike. I know that you're gonna. I know that you will be there. I know that you will have the answers for the people in your life in the future, because you're sticking at it and you're staying present and you're applying all the things that we talk about all the time. And I thank you for being in my life. And I just want to take a moment here and for everyone listening, for our audience, I want to just extend you gratitude for what you've done and what you're going to undertake, and best wishes for this deployment to go safely. And, we wish you Godspeed and hurry home. And
Along for the journey, brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And then maybe when you get home, you'll have the experience that I've had, which has been from T.S. Eliot. I just want to finish with a quote here, which is T.S. Eliot said, "We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." And that's been my experience coming back to get involved with training the Australian military guys, and to be back in my hometown and to be traveling around with my children on public transport. And I'm sure that'll be your experience when you return from your last deployment, Mike. So Godspeed and best wishes to you. And if anyone in our community wants to leave a message for Mike or a review, you can send us messages. You can share this out, and we'll make sure that all those messages get through to him. And is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with just before we close, Mike?
I don't know, man. I just encourage everybody to think about like what you're doing. What do you like? We always question like, what are we doing in our life? What am I doing? I'm lost. I don't know what I'm doing. Really take a step back and think about what you're feeding your mind and your soul, who you're around, what they're feeding you, what you're constantly sharing. And if you honestly can look at it and be like, I don't like that, then don't be part of it. Like take care of your own well-being. Like I say, it's not about you, but the first part of that is taking care of yourself, and then the rest will radiate and reflect onto other people. So that is important. But I mean, overall, the purpose of life is not just how good can you have it. It's about how good can you have it with other people in relationship, because you do feed off of each other, and their success is your success and vice versa. And just, take inventory, look at your life, listen to what music do you listen to? What are you watching the news every day, CNN and Fox, and you're just constantly being, aggravated about life and, oh, this world's terrible and the president's terrible and this and that, whatever. And you're just falling into this negativity thing. Well, how about turn it off and listen to something else? How about listen to something positive, self-development, have good conversations with people, real people, not people on TV or social media. you know? And then just how does that make you feel? And then what does that make you feel like doing? You know, is it positive? Hey, do you feel really good about yourself? You feel energetic? Hey, why don't you get up and go to the gym? Why don't you go for a walk? Why don't you go visit a friend and say, hey, let's go do something we've never done before? You know, and like one thing leads to the other, man. It's a real thing. So I encourage you to do that.
Love it. And then you might even call your mum for all those
Oh
people
yeah,
out there.
definitely
Call your mum.
definitely call your mom.
Yeah. All right. So until next time, everybody out there, take care and good luck.